Picking up a thread on Murray and Woolley, and you mentioned this as premillennialism, not dispensationalist. He was historic premillennialist. But I've always, of late, have found this fascinating. That Murray was writing this series of what did he say? There were issues or problems with the fundamentalist,
the Reformed faith and its modern substitutes.
Modern substitutes.
Modern substitutes, right.
And one of which is premillennialism, specifically dispensationalist, but still other forms of premillennialism too. I'm curious how Woolley would have interpreted these critiques from his own faculty colleague.
Well, I think he got along great with Murray and respected his exegesis. Mm-hmm. But that same independent streak that Woolley did not mind being the sole voice in a vote. It didn't bother him to be the sole historic pre-mill on the faculty. But I thought he had a very, very good relationship with Murray. And that's one thing that, my mentor, Charlie Dennis, when I came into the OPC, I would see Charlie on the floor of Presbyterian meeting or General Assembly really debating hard, really aggressive and hard, and then having great fellowship with the very individuals that he had just debated hard. And that's the sense I get, that Woolley was not offended, and really showed what I think John's on. It was very correct in regard to he's really the embodiment of the American Presbyterian antecedent in its best form, and much like a Warfield form or a Hodge form, but in the courage of his convictions. But he was so erudite too. He was good friends with Gerhardus Voss, and I think part of that was the tremendous book learning, just widely read on so many different subjects, and so conversant, and so I think he's just the type of guy. I think when Machen found Woolley, it's like he knew he had gotten a treasure that was going to give everything he had to the institution, and also being a churchman to the church, and so Woolley's it's a 50-year service that was probably most appreciated by those who knew how much lifting he was doing behind the scenes. He was never seeking out the spotlight.
And back to the dispensational issue, this was an issue early in the life of the OPC, Westminster Seminary, and in Woolley's career. It comes back again at the very end of Woolley's career. Yes. The very last General Assembly he attends and where he votes is the 1975 assembly that is voting on a union with the RPCES, which in some respects was a reuniting with these premillennialist elements that had left the OPC in 1937. And Woolley believed that there were still some unresolved issues there that made it premature to unite. And so he cast his vote against that vote, even though it would have meant bringing in those of some greater theological affinity with him.
He was the only, so there was probably 5 to 6 Westminster Seminary faculty, OPC ministers who were at that assembly, and he's the only one who votes against the merger. The rest of the faculty votes for the merger. But he, and that's the amazing thing about about Woolley, is that one would think the modifications that the RPCES would make for eschatological liberty, that Woolley, if thinking his own view might gain greater acceptance, he still confessionally thought it was a bad thing to do, and both wrote about it and voted against it. And it's interesting, an ally he had in that was Meredith Kline. And Meredith Kline, at the same time, was writing articles about premillennialism and amillennialism, and it was attacking very fiercely the sense that to do this was so to make this compromise, to allow this, was so contrary to the eschatology of the Bible that the Reformed faith should think about this very seriously. It's when he was writing those articles on Revelation 20 and the first resurrection in the journal.